Hello, welcome to my channel. My name's Alexander and today I'm going to review Schild's Ladder by Greg Egan. It was published in 2001 and is a science fiction novel of about 300 pages. And when I say science fiction, I mean science, oh my god, my mind just blew apart fiction. Plot summary. The story takes place thousands of years in the future and is essentially about two competing teams of scientists. The Yielders, who are trying to freeze the nova vacuum so that they can study it, and the Preservationists, who are trying to eliminate the nova vacuum completely. The story is made interesting by the fact that the main character is a Yielder and so... Oh, sorry, did I forget to explain the nova vacuum? The nova vacuum was accidentally created by another team of scientists. It's a vacuum that's expanding at half the speed of light and is gradually swallowing the entire universe, although everyone is being pretty laid back about it. The Yielders want to freeze and study it, the Preservationists want to eliminate it. The story is made interesting by the fact that the main character is a Yielder and so we're forced to throw away the natural sympathy we would have for the Preservationists. I should warn you, this is hardcore science fiction. You can read stuff like Isaac Asimov even if you're not that familiar with the sci-fi genre, but this is for the dedicated science fiction fan, and that's for one particular reason: the science involved. It's very advanced and quite technical at some points as well, so I've compiled this list of things that would be good to have before you start reading this book. 1. An interest in physics and a thorough understanding of the basics, in particular quantum physics. I would have said an A-level in physics, but then realised half of my audience probably wouldn't know what an A-level is. 2. Some university maths and physics would be helpful. 3. Understanding some of the more advanced concepts of quantum physics, such as quantum computers, superposition and decoherence. And finally 4. Some familiarity with loop quantum gravity. That last one isn't essential. The author does explain the basics of it without even using the name loop quantum gravity, and even though I had never heard of this thing, I still managed to get the basic gist of it. But I still think you would get more out of it if you had heard of loop quantum gravity in the first place. Another impressive feature about the book is the effort that has gone into imagining what an ultra-futuristic society would actually look like. When you read older science fiction stories, you sometimes get the impression that the author was too influenced by the time period in which he lived. Like, for example, in Isaac Asimov's stories, the computers never have keyboards. Of course, the future is really difficult to predict. But Greg Egan makes a really good attempt by completely changing the human experience. Death has been eliminated, humans are no longer tied to their bodies, and the emphasis in society has gone from staying alive to staying yourself. The world depicted in this novel is so different that I can't sum it up in a few sentences, but my point is that the author has managed to keep it realistic while simultaneously throwing away any resemblance that this world has to our world of today. So as a science fiction novel, this is brilliant. However, in my opinion, in terms of storytelling, it's not particularly strong. If you strip away all the physics, the story itself becomes rather simple and one-dimensional, and the ending lacks a bit of a punch, and on top of that, the main character is a bit weedy. He rarely seems to take real action, and much of what I liked about the book came from simply him observing what other people were doing around him. It didn't matter much to me because the beauty of this book lies in the physics and the science, but it had to be said. Final thoughts on the book? Greg Egan is a fantastic science fiction author. He's not just using mumbo jumbo to explain away the science, he's using actual science. If you consider yourself a true science fiction fan, you ought to read at least one of his books. And if you have what it takes, Schild's Ladder is definitely worth it. If you're not a science fiction fan and you're not that keen on physics, don't read this. That concludes my review of Schild's Ladder. Hope you enjoyed the review and see you soon.